Hello, everybody. Welcome to this chat today with Eric Balash from Back to Viz Basics. Hopefully this works this time, Eric.
Yeah, I hope so too. I think it looks pretty good so far.
Yeah, great. If somebody could type in the chat and let us know if you can hear us and see us, that would be great. Last time I caused a bit of a disaster, so we've been replanning this for a while. So I'm Andy Kriebel. I'm going to host this today. So I'm the global head coach of the data school, and today I've got Eric with me. So Eric, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Thanks for tuning in this morning or this afternoon, wherever you're tuning in from. My name's Eric Balash. I'm located in the DC metro area, originally from Pennsylvania. I live here with my fiance, Olivia, and our dog, Loki, standard poodle. Been working with data ever since I was introduced to Tableau during college. Now I'm a manager of our data visualization team at Lovelytics, just outside the DC area. So super excited to be here today and chatting with Andy.
Great. Yeah, thanks. So why don't we just hop right into it? What is Back to Viz Basics?
Yeah, so you might have some people might be familiar with the hashtag B2VB, stands for Back to Viz Basics. Basically, it's a community project that I kicked off this year when I took over the Tableau student guide, and it's a community project aimed at just kind of focusing on the small stuff first, focusing on that one chart type, maybe adding color for emphasis in your visualization, and just keeping things simple. And it's meant for those that are, just starting out with Tableau, but also for those that have been using it for a while that want to go back to those, foundations and kind of, start from the beginning and look over things and just get started with some of the simple stuff.
Yeah, I don't think it ever hurts for anybody to go back to the basics, right?
Yeah.
It's easy to get caught up, especially when looking at Tableau Public. It's easy to get caught up seeing these incredible visualizations and thinking, I'll never be able to do that. And that's not really, at least for me, that's not really what's important. I think that's probably the same for you, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, where can people find more information?
Yeah, so if you go to the tablowstudentguide.com, this is a great resource that was created by student ambassador Maria Brock. She, in her learning of Tableau, eventually she had like 50 tabs opened up on her browser and wanted to create one resource that had everything that you need to know about getting started with Tableau, the community, resources, data sets, all that type of information. So she built out this great website. She wanted to, kind of move on to some other things, but she wanted the Tableau student guide to live on. So she passed that off to me. When I took it over around fall of last year, I wanted to add my own twist to it. And at the time, Andy, I think Makeover Monday was starting to shut down and
retire.
Retire. And so I was like, okay, let me try to, come up with something that fits with the student guide, and can also be beneficial to the community. So on the site, there's now a page for Back to Viz Basics, has all the information about how to join, how to participate, our cadence for how often we release challenges. There's now a submission tracker, which I'm super excited about. It's just a great repository of all the wonderful submissions from the community. So everything that you need to know is on the website there.
Yeah. And how do you differentiate this project from others in the Tableau community? It seems like there's 1,000 of them now. Why should people, how do you kind of stay away from the noise of everything else and get people to pay attention to yours?
Yeah, for sure. Well, and if people are interested in learning more about all the community projects, there is an event going on tomorrow that talks about all of the community projects that are out there. And like you said, there are, I think, probably 20 or more different things going on right now. So for ours, I wanted mine to focus on just working on one thing at a time. I think a lot of the community projects out there, some are focused on creating a whole dashboard. Or maybe, a specific type of data that's, specific to a particular industry, or maybe ones that are, around really complex issues. So I wanted to just create something that anybody that just downloaded Tableau could get started with. So working with simple data sets, working with simple chart types, or just doing a basic thing in Tableau. And so for those that are new to Tableau, they can learn those basic skills and how to play with formatting and add color and things like that. But then for those that are more advanced with Tableau, they can go back and try something new and get creative with things. So that's how I kind of wanted to fit into that space a little bit.
Yeah, great. It was definitely a gap that needed to be filled. So thanks for doing it. I know I appreciate it, and I've enjoyed participating myself. It can take a while for a community project to kind of gain traction. What's the response been so far and participation from the community?
Yes, it's been great. I have been absolutely shocked at just the amount of feedback, just the amount of like thank yous and congratulations that I've received from people. We created a submission tracker that just got Viz of the Day last week. And I was amazed to look at the numbers. I think before Tableau conference, the numbers I were tracking were pretty low. But then I think once people see the submission tracker, they're like, oh, I got to go back in and add all my stuff. So right now we have over 750 submissions for 14 challenges. We have over
great.
320 unique participants. We have 4 Viz of the Days, 5 if you include the one for the actual tracker.
We'll count that one.
Yeah. And just, all the feedback I've gotten from the community, just, through Twitter, in person, at conference, has just been really great. And it makes me feel great because, I've always wanted to give back in my own way. And I'm happy that this project has done that for people.
Yeah, that's a big thing in the community. When you get something from it, it's good to give back as well. So, I didn't realize there was a tracker, so I'm gonna have to go back and fill it in myself. So, I just like being able to see. Sometimes you forget which weeks you did and you didn't, and that kind of thing. So it makes it easier.
We do have a perfect club. There's 4 people in the perfect club.
Okay. I'll catch up then. It gives me an excuse to do more of the Watch Me Viz videos. So sure. Great. So I think one of the things, because this is kind of wrapped in with other Tableau community projects, it's not just a Tableau project though, right?
Correct. Yeah, I think most of our users have been using Tableau. I haven't seen anything specific come from other tools yet. And I definitely, want everybody to know that it's not just limited to Tableau users. If, you want to use Power BI or something else, you're more than welcome to. And sometimes we will step out of Tableau and do something. So one of our challenges was creating a wireframe. So people use Figma for that. They use Balsamic, they use PowerPoint, or even Tableau itself to, use text boxes to create that layout. So sometimes, depending on the challenge, we might step out of Tableau and do something different that kind of gets our mind thinking of gathering requirements or just different things that you need to know about creating things in Tableau, to establish some of those basic skills.
Okay, great. Yeah. Let me see. So actually, before we get into kind of questions I've collected from the community, I've just got one more. What's your process for selecting topics?
Yeah. So that's a really good one. I like to think that I have them all marked up and listed out throughout the whole year. I recently brought on Elisa Davis from the Tableau community to help me run the project. She's a graduate of Millennials in Data. She's the one always tweeting back to people and giving feedback. So she and I started to brainstorm and get our list together. But honestly, I think a lot of it just comes from feedback from the community and things that they want to see or things that they want to work on. Where I'll see someone post a visualization and say, oh, that's a unique chart, or they did something pretty clever here. Let's see if we can work that into a challenge. It also comes from my day-to-day, what I'm doing for clients and building dashboards. I might do something and, an idea might come from it that we can use. But a lot of it, I try to stick to some of the articles that we have written on the Tableau student guide about creating basic charts, sticking to just some of the show me charts. But also looking at your visual vocabulary, Andy, that's always super helpful. If I'm really stuck on a topic, I can look at that and say, okay, let's work with one of these chart types. So I know that's hit over 1 million views now or something like that. So
3 million. Yeah. It's over 3 million now. Yeah. It's pretty cool. Yeah. When it got close, I think my kids just kept hitting refresh to try to get another. Yeah. What other community projects do you participate in?
I think the very first one was Makeover Monday for me. I remember going to my first Tableau conference, New Orleans. I wanted to really dive into the conference and get the most out of it. And I saw everybody on Twitter. I saw people tweeting about Makeover Monday. And I remember sitting in the airport, and I actually did, I think it was like the number of women in Congress or something like that. And so I started working on that one and kind of took off since there. So I've done that one. I've participated in Project Health Viz as well, and I've done some Workout Wednesdays.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I think sometimes I worry about people getting discouraged because when they try to think of a community project, like, oh, I'll jump right into Workout Wednesday. And people need to realize there's a natural progression of things,
Yes.
so
Yes, for sure.
so back to Viz Basics is a good spot to kind of get your feet wet and get comfortable with the tools and things. Yeah, I didn't realize that people weren't doing stuff in Power BI, so maybe I'll do that next time.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
we'll
Yeah, I think
see how
there's,
it goes.
no matter what industry you're in or what you're looking for, there's a community project out there for you.
Yeah.
And one of my favorites is the real world fake data that Mark Bradburn does, especially looking
Okay.
at business dashboards. Everything that comes out of that project is just amazing and gives me so many ideas for what I need to build out on a daily basis.
Okay. And one of the things you typically don't see in that project is you don't see complicated things because people are coming at it from the perspective of a business user.
Correct.
So do you think bar charts are the best type of data visualization?
I think so. They're my favorite.
Is that why you started with bar charts?
I did. I think visually, right? If we just look at a bar chart, because the length of the bar, it communicates a value that our brains can easily comprehend. So I think that's why I like bar charts the most. I also love that you can take a bar chart and design it in probably 20 or more different ways. I've seen so many dashboards out there about here's all different types of bar charts. I think you have one. I know some other folks do, and I think it's just a great chart type that can be so versatile, but it communicates, the values and can show comparisons in an instant, and our brain can comprehend that so much faster than looking at a tabular format.
Okay, great. So if you could only ever use one chart type for the rest of your life, would it be a bar chart?
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know if I have a specific. How would you do a map then?
Oh, that's true.
Make it a bar chart.
Yeah.
Anything can be a bar chart, right?
Yes.
So if in doubt, go with a bar chart. So what advice do you have for people to keep them from overcomplicating their visualizations?
Yeah, I think that's one thing I see kind of on a daily basis, is that I think people try to answer everyone's question all at once in a dashboard. And with that, then, I think they start to add in so many other things, way too many filters on a dashboard, too many colors, too many visualizations. And it just, if you don't have the right layout, it just gets to be so messy. Tableau gives us the option to do certain, write calculations to only, limit to one color in a chart, or it allows us to take away grid lines and tick marks and things like that. So, if we start to practice, on those small little things at a time, it can really take our charts and dashboards to the next level. And I think, really focusing on what it is that our users are trying to answer in the dashboard is key. If we try to answer every single question, it's just going to, there's going to be way too many things going on in that dashboard. And I think that's part of the reason why Back to Viz Basics was created, is just, keep things simple, focus on one chart type, learn how to use color purposely in the dashboard, take away, lines, add your labels here, or maybe only label one bar, little simple things that we can do just to make it a little bit more, easily to understand.
Okay, great. And if anybody has any questions along the way, feel free to type them in the chat, and I'll ask them along the way. Okay, so next question for you. So I asked that one already. How do you go about choosing the right chart type?
Yeah. So with that, I think, just understanding the type of data type that we're working with. If it's something that we're looking over time, I'm probably working with a line chart, or, even a bar chart, something like that. But, just understanding the data type, I think is the first key. I try to take into consideration, in terms of like working with my clients, what it is, the type of visualizations that they would prefer, or what they've worked with in the past that they're comfortable with. If I'm ever stuck, I definitely go to Tableau Public, or I just go out to Google and start searching, chart type, the data that I'm working with, and some examples from the community, and see, what works best with my situation. I know I already mentioned visual vocabulary, but that's a reference that I turn to all the time, because you just have so many great, chart types in there that can really trigger my brain. And maybe it's not the exact one that you created, but I know I can put a twist on it or change it in a different way that works. So
yeah, it's a guideline, right? Yeah,
yes,
if you're stuck, it's a good resource for it. There's also some other ones. I'll put the links in the chat here. So there's one. Let me see here. So let me see, chart choosers. There's one called Chart Guide. So I'll put a link in the chat for this one, so those that are that are watching can save this. That's a really good one, and it has kind of a similar way of going around it. Oops, and picking the right chart type. We then also have so there's the Tableau chart catalog by the Flerlich brothers is great.
Yeah, that one's an excellent one.
So I'll just put those two in there for now. Okay, so Philippe has a question on the chat. How do you avoid? Let's see. Question: avoid access and focus on labels. I'm not quite sure I understand. Oh, I think it means, when do you consider kind of getting rid of the access and labeling the marks versus doing the other way around?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think if I'm working with really small charts, so sometimes if I have a KPI and I have a small spark line next to it, that's when I'll remove the access, or I have a small bar chart, maybe I'll remove it there to show more of the the difference between values, and that's when I'll add a label to maybe the highest value. But then I utilize the tooltip to show more of that detail if people want to hover. But I think anytime that I'm really focusing on showing the whole chart, I always include 0, because I think it can be a little misleading when we uncheck that don't show 0, and then we see such a variation in our values. It can be a little misleading for folks.
Yeah. Okay, great. So you were mentioning a minute ago that if you have time series data, you'll work with line charts. If you have discrete data, you might work with bar charts or whatever. What do you think the best way is for someone to even just understand data in the first place?
Yeah, I think for me, just really taking a look at the data source and taking my time to go through each column and how things are related to each other. Is always the first step. I think for me, before I even get involved in, because on a daily basis, I work with clients in all different industries. It's data that I don't understand. It might be private equity data, it might be real estate data, and to me, I don't know what's important to those clients, and how I need to visualize that data. So I think the first thing that I do on my own is I play around with the data. I try to understand, some of the metrics in it. What are the different fields that we're working with? What are the data types that I'm working with? And then from there, I spend so much time in the discovery phase with the client, going through what's important to them, looking at previous visualizations of how they have reported that data in the past. Spend a lot of time asking, okay, well, if we're working with this metric, what are ways that you might want to see this broken out as, or how do we want to get to the next level of this data? We spend a lot of time, working in, Figma or Balsamiq, wireframing out that dashboard, going through a discovery phase with them, working through like a dashboard's requirement document. And so we spend a lot of time in that phase, because I think if we can really nail down those questions, understand the data, just get on the same page, then it makes the dashboarding part of it really easy. And one thing that I've learned is, well, I'm working with different data from a bunch of different industries. If we have a design that works, most of the time we can go back to that design and just kind of change the layout maybe a little bit, and the metrics that we're working with. But in the end, all dashboards kind of have that same flow and design. At least in the business dashboards that I've worked with. And, it really comes down to understanding the data and just working with, the individuals to make sure that you're answering all the questions that are important to them.
Okay. Yeah. A lot of there were several comments about needing to make sure you understand your audience before you understand kind of what charts to build and the basics. But what if your client doesn't know what they're looking for?
Yeah, definitely. I worked with a lot of people that are brand new to Tableau, and first time that they're actually putting together visualizations. And so for me, we have a requirements document that we work with our client to understand. Okay, well, let's work on this one chart type, or can you list out metrics that are important for your analysis? It's important to see this over time. Asking basic questions to kind of get them started, and then from there, just with our experience with Tableau and understanding how to report data, we're able to kind of shape together a dashboard that works for them. So sometimes coming up with a questionnaire for your clients to start answering and going through gets them thinking on the right track. And like I said, we spent a lot of time in that discovery phase, wireframing, just showing them what the
Right.
product could look like starts to get their mind in the right way. And honestly, I mean, a lot of people that are brand new to Tableau don't know what parameters can do, don't know how, filters work. And so
Right.
just showing them how that stuff can work in Tableau can really start getting them thinking along the same, track as you, and can really start to answer more of your questions so you can have a more comprehensive design for them.
Yeah, I think not enough people actually do that wireframing or even drawing on paper using sticky notes or something, because when you jump straight into Tableau or Power BI or whatever the tool is, and you start building things, you become kind of attached to it because you've put effort into it already, right? Where if you're wireframing, you can move things around on the page or things like that. Another tool that I use is is called Excalidraw. I don't know if you've heard of that or not. So I'll put a link in for that as well. That's a free one, which is nice. Excalidraw. Yeah, it's excalidraw.com. And that has it's very similar to Balsamic. You can add different types of visuals to the library and things. So it comes with just the basic things, but there's a library where you can add like drop downs and different things like that. So there's a link in the chat now. Okay. Yeah, so here's a good question from Shivraj. What are the things you add that make the visualization more easily understood?
So I think just adding annotations to visualizations or prompts to say, hover here to do this, or click here to filter on these things, or clicking this will navigate you to this dashboard. Adding certain types of labels to our charts can really help our users understand how to interact with it. I think, using tooltips are really important. A lot of people, forget about those and don't always clean them up either. So always check your tooltips, make sure they're nice and clean. And you could pretty much add anything to your tooltips to, prompt your user to do something, or add a little bit more detail that you're not showing in the visualization. Right. I think also having a clear chart title or description is important. That way people know what they're looking at, especially if you're removing things from your visualization, such as labels or, something in the axis, things like that. It's important to communicate that to your user.
Okay. Yeah, there's I think we took for granted that people are going to understand what wireframing is.
Yes.
Do you want to explain that?
Sure. So wireframing is almost like creating a blueprint or mock-up of your dashboard. So typically what I do with my clients is, before we even get into whatever BI tool it is that we're using, we spend time in a wireframing phase. So we're working with our client to kind of draw up what the dashboard might look like. So you can think of it as even just like Andy said, drawing, hand sketching it, putting, where's our title going to go? Where are these KPIs going to go? Are they going to go down the left-hand side, or are they going to go across the top? What's our layout going to look like for the different chart types that we're building? Where are our filters going to go? So kind of creating that blueprint or just, a visual mock-up of what the dashboard would look like. That allows us to kind of have a more streamlined process when we get into Tableau, because we know exactly what it is that we're building. We know where things are going. And it also creates, less confusion between us and the client. We have an agreed upon design, and it allows us to really just put our head down and start to develop in Tableau.
Okay, great. Yeah, I was going to show an example of it, so just give me 1 second, and I'll try to bring it up here on my screen. Okay, I'll just bring up an example of Excalidraw. So let me
and to add on to wireframing, at Tableau conference, Lindsay Betzendahl and Autumn Batani, they did a great presentation. I had a presentation at the same time, but they did a great presentation on wireframing and different tools that you can use. So definitely check that out. That should be, well, actually, I don't know if it's actually on YouTube, but should be out there somewhere.
Yeah, so here's just a basic example. I assume you can see it, Eric, of wireframing. You're just kind of drawing boxes, putting different visuals on the view. This one, ignore all the kind of colored borders around the outside. That's because I was trying to help explain containers to people. But that's kind of, think of it as a sketch. That's probably the easiest way to think about it. Hopefully that answers their question.
Yeah, and I think one of the things with wireframing is that we don't need to get so detailed, like how you just had title. You had, just 1, 2, 3 for KPIs. With some clients, I get really detailed on, what are all my filter options going to be, and because it's easier for me to get down to that level of detail. And other ones, I keep it really vague. We just, titles going here, chart types going there. So it, really depends on who you're working with, but you don't need to recreate Tableau in another tool.
Yeah. What's your approach to using color in a visualization?
Yeah, I like to stick to 1 to 2 dominant colors. This is something that we teach in Millennials and Data. We don't need to, overcrowd our charts with a ton of different colors for every different dimension value that we have. Sticking to 1 to 2 dominant colors throughout your dashboard can just really make it visually appealing. And you're pretty much, the way that I use color is trying to communicate, a certain thing that I want my user to see. So maybe it's coloring that highest value, or maybe it's coloring something that had the biggest change. And so that's how I try to use color in my dashboard rather than assigning a color to every different dimension.
Okay. Yeah. So using color for a purpose.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Another approach could be making everything one color. So for example, Tableau defaults to blue, but let's say you make everything, gray, like a shade of gray, and then just adding color where you think you need it. So maybe start with a single color and add some in.
Yeah. I also think it's important for folks that are working with, got a visitor in the back. That's Loki. He likes to sit on the couch now back there. You really threw me off, Loki. For folks that are working with, oh yeah, look at that. Folks that are working with business dashboards, and you might be a consultant working with a particular client. I think it's really important to get their branding guidelines that come from their marketing team to incorporate, their approved logos, their approved colors, font types. Not so much in Tableau, but sticking with clear, legible fonts, but really trying to work in their company colors. So what you're creating is their dashboard.
Yeah. We have to do that a lot when we're working on projects for our clients at the data school. First thing we do is ask them for their colors, their corporate colors, and do they have a template that they typically use? A few of them ever have a template, and they usually always have some kind of corporate colors, but the people we're working with actually probably don't know them, so they have to go find out. But then when they see it at the end, they're like, "Oh yeah, that's so much better."
Yeah.
So, so Sarah Carr has a question. What have you learned or been surprised by leading this project?
I think I've been surprised by just the level of participation. I didn't know what to expect when kicking it off because, like we mentioned, there's so many other great projects out there that I wasn't sure how this one would take. So huge shout out to you, Sarah, and everybody else in the community that's participated. And I think I'm surprised at what people are able to create based off of the topic that's there. So we try to focus on one specific thing, and I might say, sometimes I keep it open where, use any chart type that you like, or I might say, okay, this week we're focusing on line charts, but then what people create, it's a line chart, but they look they're so different from one to the next. And I always find that amazing. And that's what I found amazing about Makeover Monday is you can work with the same data and people can visualize it so many different ways or do one thing that, just really hits different with you, and now you use that in all of the stuff that you're doing, and maybe it's the way they labeled something, or the way that they annotated something. It's so creative, and I think that's every week I'm surprised with what people create, because when I put the data out there, I have this automatic visual in my mind that I create, and then I see what people share, and it's like, oh man, I didn't even think about that. That looks great, and so I think that's what I'm always surprised with.
It's also like, how did I not think of that? Right.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's always a learning opportunity for everybody. That was we had a data set for Makeover Monday about climate change. And there were 2 columns. One was a month and the other one was the temperature. And I'm like, surely we're only going to see like 3 or 4 different types of visualizations. And I use this in if I ever give a talk about data visualization, I use this example because there were hundreds of different visualizations for 2 columns. So it was fascinating, that
crazy.
I was like, we're going to see lines and heat maps, that's about it, this kind of thing. So yeah, great. Okay. Let me look through my list of questions here. Again, if you're on the live stream and you have any questions, feel free to ask those. What's the optimal number of charts on a dashboard, and how do you know if that's correct when you build it?
I hate using that. It depends.
It depends. I
Answer,
knew
but
you'd say
yeah.
that. Yeah. Because there is no optimal number. But
Yes, I
yeah.
think
So
of.
how do you know if you have the optimal number on your dashboard?
Mhm. Yeah, I think so. I think in terms of like business dashboards, one of the first people that comes to mind in the Tableau community is Ellen Blackburn. And I think about, if you're not familiar with her, definitely go to Tableau Public and check out her business dashboards, because she does a great way of, whether it's her KPIs or just the way that she has her data, her chart structured, she can fit so many things onto one dashboard, and it's not confusing. It's not overcrowded. It's so clean and crisp. And like, I absolutely love the way that she's able to design and put things together, that it works so well. So, I don't think that there's a right or wrong number to the number of charts. I think if you spend that time focusing on the design and wireframing things out, you can align things in a certain way that work really well together. So, right, every chart doesn't need a title and a label, right? We can put a KPI with a little progress bar below it. And we don't need to show the title that says, sales progress, right? We can do things in our different BI tools that, we can hide titles, do things in a certain way, play with labels and borders to really make things work well together. And so I don't think that there's a right or wrong answer. I think it's just, when you look at it, I always like to quote my boss, Chantilly. She says, if my grandma can't understand it, then, it's not right. So, anybody should be able to sit down and look at your dashboard and not get confused on what things do. And they should just, be able to take away some information from that.
Yeah, that's the advice I give people when they're applying to the data school. If, when they're getting ready for their interview, show it to your mom or show it to your dad. And if they can understand it, you've probably done a good job.
Yeah. Agreed.
So I put a link to Ellen's profile in the chat, but this is what it looks like. So you can see all these kind of unbelievably beautiful looking visualizations. She obviously likes pastels, but you'll see lots and lots of templates here. And the great thing about these templates is you can swap in your own data for these templates if you like one. That's why she builds these things. She builds them to share with the community. So yeah, and she was in cohort number 9 at the data school, or cohort number 10 at the data school. So we're hiring for cohort number 34 next week. So
wow.
Times have gone by very, very quickly.
Yeah, congratulations. I saw just 7 years ago, right?
Yeah, seven years ago today, actually. Yeah.
Awesome. Congratulations.
So thank you. Okay. All right. 2 more questions. First, how has understanding kind of the basics of data visualization, maybe the basics of chart types, helped your career?
Yeah, I think, when I was first getting, my whole background is in healthcare administration. So I didn't take a design course. I, didn't have Tableau as one of my courses, or, data visualization. I learned it through an internship. And thankfully someone sat down with me and kind of gave me, a little tutorial on how to use it. But I think just starting small and really, understanding, okay, well, what is a KPI, how to build a simple chart type that, folks can easily comprehend is just key. Like I said, I've come such a long way by participating in other community projects, downloading other people's visualizations and picking them apart and understanding how they did something. And most of the times, right, we see all these things on Tableau Public where they might be really creative, arc diagrams and these circular charts. I've seen a lot of those recently. But, when we sit down to actually build a dashboard for a client, it really just comes down to, those simple chart types. And I think so if we can master the basics of, our design, using colors correctly, using labels correctly, and just, keeping our, the organization of the dashboard in a simple way, that speaks more volumes to me than, someone being able to go in there and, do a bunch of mathematical equations to create something really cool with Tableau.
What do you think about Tableau Public as kind of like a portfolio? So, when I hate to keep beating on about the data school, but I kind of like the way we do things. We don't ask people for resumes or CVs because, frankly, I don't care where they went to school. I want to know if they're going to be able to be good at the job. And then when they're getting hired for jobs after they finish with us, they're getting jobs they wouldn't have gotten otherwise because they don't have a background in data or math or computer science or something like that. And I try to tell them that Tableau Public is your portfolio. So if you're hiring, Eric, if you're hiring an interior designer, you're not going to go look and see where they went to school. You're going to want to see, well, show me some examples of things you've done for other clients, right? What's your take on that?
Yeah, I'm 100% for it. I think the the past few jobs that I've had, it's only because of Tableau Public, because I can actually sit down and say, hey, this is what I've done. I can take you through this visualization, explain why I did things or where my inspiration came from, or my process for building it. So creating that portfolio on Tableau is huge. There is a great talk at Tableau conference on Tableau Public and why you want to create one. If you're looking for a new role, it allows you to show your skills. Rather than just saying, oh, I'm a 10 out of 10 with Tableau on your resume, right? You can show people, here's how I'm a 10 out of 10. I have this, these great business dashboards that I've created. And we do the same thing for millennials and data. We all of our students start fresh with a totally blank Tableau Public, and they come in, and by the end of it, they have 10 or so more dashboards that they can take with them and, take to internships or, their first job and say, hey, you should hire me. And here's why. Here's my Tableau Public. And that's the resume then. They can take that with them anywhere. It's always up there. And Tableau Public has come out with this hire me button now. So, if anyone that's on the call is looking for, a new role, and you have a great Tableau Public, or if you don't have anything yet, get some things up there and then enable that hire me button. It's a great way for, to share your work out there with folks. But yeah, I'm all for creating a Tableau Public profile. I know I've heard from some folks in the Tableau community that if they don't have a Tableau Public profile, then I don't know if I even want to interview them. So it's a great way. It's definitely, I wouldn't say it's a necessity, but I think it really speaks volumes to your design skills and what you're able to do with it. Yeah. I'm 100% for creating a profile on Tableau Public.
And let me show people real quick where they can find that on their Tableau Public profile. So if I go to my profile here, you just click on the edit profile button on your profile. And if you scroll to the bottom, on the bottom right here, you have this section for available for hire. So I've never tried this, but I'm going to try it anyway. And I'm going to hit save.
Yeah, I'm not totally sure how it works or what organization. I'm not totally sure, what organizations have access to that and how they're able to pull that out.
Let's see what happens now. Where does it say? Okay, it doesn't say hire me on here anywhere. So maybe you can't then. I'm not sure because I did tick the button, right? Displays by opting in. Okay, so save.
The data school is going to think that they need a new head coach.
Yeah. Where is it? Okay, but now if I hit cancel, it doesn't. Okay, so that doesn't work. But I guess in theory, that's the way you're supposed to do it. So, okay, what's next for Back to Viz Basics?
Yep. So I want to do some more collaborations with other community projects. I think it's a great way just, to share what else is out there for folks. So we did one with Game Night Viz on Super Mario data. So we've done that one already. Definitely want to work with some others in the community. So if you have a favorite Tableau community project that you love working with, let me know. I'd love to do a collaboration with them. We have the submission tracker, so that's out there. I think the next biggest thing that we want to work on is doing a little bit of a better job with the kind of a wrap up of every week. So whether it's a blog post, whether it's a live review or something like that, kind of wrapping things up for that week and then seeing some of the main trends or picking some of our favorite dashboards. So But yeah, if anyone else has any other ideas, I was on a webinar yesterday for data and diversity. If there's something coming up that you have data that you're passionate about, or if there's something that you want us to, if there's a particular topic that you want us to cover, let me know. I'm always looking for ideas and data sets to work with. So, I try to keep things, relevant to what's going on or different things that I've learned in my day to day. So if there's something that you want to work on, let me know. Definitely happy to work that into a future challenge.
Great. Okay, I don't think we have any more questions there. A few thank yous for you, Eric, for doing this. I guess so. I'm enjoying doing these live streams and stuff, so I'm going to keep doing them. And I wanted to quick talk about one that I'm going to be doing next week, if you don't mind me talking about it.
Of course.
Oh, let me close this. Sorry. Oh, I just messed up. So hang on one second. Now I got to find it because I just downloaded it. Okay. So I saw on, let me just share my screen. Let me just share everything. That's okay. So I saw on, can you see my screen now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Dima El Sharif, she had a post on LinkedIn the other day about why she quit social media and how it's kind of, it's helped her refocus her life and think about the little things and things that she had been missing out on. So on Monday afternoon, I'm going to be having a chat with her. If there's questions you'd like to ask, I'll be putting a post on LinkedIn asking people if they have any questions. But it's really interesting. I'm going to ask her kind of about the impact it's had on her, why people should do it, what you can get from stopping to use social media and things like that. So it should be interesting. Yeah, I think that's it. So thank you very much, Eric, and hopefully it's not until next year when I see you again.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for having me, Andy. I'm super excited that everything worked this time. Thanks for everyone that joined, and super thankful to be here and appreciate it.
Great. Thanks, Eric. Have a good day.
Thanks, Andy. You too.
All right. Bye.